Welcome back to the Linux Academy NGINX Deep Dive. In this video, we're going to get started with digging into NGINX by taking our obvious first step, and that's we need to have a server set up that is running NGINX. This video is going to utilize the Linux Academy cloud servers that you have access to, and we're going to set up NGINX on a CentOS 7 machine from scratch. If you're more interested in using a Debian-based system like Debian or Ubuntu, there's going to be a separate video after this one that's going to go through the same process on that system, but every video after these two installation videos, I'm going to be using a CentOS server. So there will be differences between what you're doing and what I'm doing, but they should be pretty minor and unrelated to NGINX in the end. So if that is you, then I encourage you to mark this video as complete and move on. But if you want to follow along exactly for the rest of this course, then go ahead and follow along with this video. Our first step is going to be to click on Cloud Servers and come in here, and we want to create a server, and CentOS 7 is the default, so we should be good to just let that go. This will take a little while in order for it to finish, but then when it's done, we'll have our public and private IP, and we're actually going to utilize the web terminal in order to interact with this server. Once the server is up and running, you should see a login button here. We're going to click this, and it's going to open up a web terminal for us. You might see it isn't running page that'll tell you to wait and refresh it. And if that's the case, you'll just have to wait a few moments for the DNS to propagate and everything to be running. From this page, we are going to sign in using user as our login and the password of 123456. And then we have to enter that password again. And then we're allowed to put in our new password that we're going to use for the remainder of the course on this server. Now we're signed in as the standard user, and this user is a sudo user, so we have access to sudo, and we can do things that require enhanced privileges. And for a lot of this course, we're actually going to just switch over to be the root user because we would have to use sudo for nearly every command that we want to run. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up a new yum repo so that we can install the official compiled NGINX version from NGINX itself. And if you want to follow along with some of these instructions, you can go over to nginx.org, which is going to be where you're going to find the documentation for NGINX. And this is going to be really, really important for us throughout this course. We're going to look at the documentation a lot. But there is a /n for English /linux_packages.html. And this will show us how we need to go about doing this. And for the pre-built packages for the stable version, which is what we're going to do, we are going to copy this. And then we're going to put this into an etc yum.reposd nginx.repo. So to do that, we're going to use sudo, and then I like to use vim. So I'm going to use vim etc yum.repos.d/nginx.repo. Then I have to enter my password since I'm using sudo. And now from in here, I'm going to set paste, and I'm going to paste that right in there. And this isn't quite right. There are some placeholder values in here. The first one being OS. This needs to change to CentOS. And then the next one being OS release, which in our case is going to be 7. Then we can save this and quit using :qw. Now we're going to run a sudo yum update so that it will actually load in this repository. After the update is completed, my particular image that I was working off of had some updates to Ruby, so I went ahead and installed those. They didn't take too long. Hopefully yours didn't either. But now we're ready to actually install NGINX. So we're going to use sudo yum install-y NGINX. The -y just says yes so that it will actually go about installing it instead of prompting us again. Once NGINX is installed, we now have access to an NGINX binary, but we're not going to utilize this directly in order to interact with our server. We're instead going to use systemd in order to run the NGINX server for us and also to start it when our system boots up. So for that, we're going to do sudo systemctl start nginx, and then sudo systemctl enable nginx to make sure that it starts on boot. Now if we curl localhost, we can actually see that there's an NGINX page for us, and if we go and we grab the public IP address of our server, we can copy this, and if we paste it in here, we can go and see the actual HTML rendered to the page. So now we're using one of the Linux Academy cloud servers, and we have NGINX installed and running by default, so anytime that this server might stop and you have to restart it after you haven't been working and following along with the course for a little while, NGINX will by default be running already.